Hello everybody, Andy here, coming to you from the year 2025, where I am actually the only YouTube channel left on the internet. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about Worlds Picks. What is Worlds? It is, you know, the golden ticket thing that GW is doing. It's a thing where if you play at a certain tournament, you get a ticket to Worlds. Worlds being the big GW event. We have a 93 player tournament happening end of November, like next weekend, I think. Next 2 weeks, something like that, end of November. And that's cool. It's obviously a nice big event. So, little note about that. We're going to go over faction popularity. I'll bring it up in a second, but just so you see what's happening. We're looking at this, picks, etc., etc. Right, very quickly, I want to point out what a golden ticket is. So, there are two types of golden tickets. There's a golden ticket and there's a silver ticket, basically. A golden ticket is all expenses paid. Kind of. Yeah, so it's all expenses paid. GW flies you out and you get free entry to the event and they pay for your accommodation, right? In the past, unfortunately, it seems that GW isn't particularly accommodating with this, and so you get people flying in and landing at like 2 AM and then they have to play in 3 hours. So, not everybody's at their finest, but it is what it is. Then you have a silver ticket. A silver ticket is you get free entry to the event, but you have to make your own way there. So, yeah, there you go. It is what it is. We also have, so basically in the UK, I know, and Poland and Spain, we have a very sparse number of tickets. It's very limited, very elite, very exclusive. And almost all of these are big events. They are 30 plus person events, etc. Most of them 40 plus. And a lot of them have international people flying over to get it because there are so few of them. The US is a little bit more lax on that because, of course, GW could kind of just give out silver tickets. They don't have to fund anything, and so it's much easier to say, here's a silver ticket, there you go. Minor note, sorry, golden ticket and silver ticket are colloquial. There is no silver ticket. They're all called a golden ticket, but some are funded, some aren't, so we say they're a silver ticket. So, a minor note on that, unfortunately, is that, unfortunately, just something to keep in mind. You might think these are the best of the best players out there, and it's just ITC number 1 through to 93, because they're all the best. That obviously is not the case. ITC is not always the greatest way to tell actual skill levels of players. For example, you get a similar number of ITC points, like it's not actually that different, if you go and you're like number 1 ITC ranked, and you go to a small 4-man tournament where everybody there's, and it's actually a beginner tournament, but it just happens to be on BCP, those exist by the way, and you stomp that tournament, you will get a decent number of ITC points. There's a whole ITC system. You can't only do that and become number one ranked ITC player in the world. You do have to go to larger tournaments. It's a whole size thing, but for a majority of your tournaments, you could stomp noobs. So don't take the ITC ranking too seriously. And again, as I was saying, the US, I know that a lot of the winners, some of the winners for the golden tickets there, they won at like an 8-man tournament, a local 8-man sort of thing. So those are just interesting factoids to keep in mind as we look through the numbers. Now, of course, if you have come to this video and you are a subscriber, I would like to give out a subscriber-only benefit, and that is a big double hello. Wow, so wholesome. The wholesomeness truly knows no bounds in the world of Glass Half Dead. And that is for subscribers only, so if you are not a subscriber, you don't get that. You know, carrot or the stick, I've gone with the stick. If you want the carrot in the next video, like, subscribe, leave a comment right now. Okay, let's get into it. Numbers. So I'm going to very quickly go over the numbers. I won't dilly-dally too much because it's just a visual thing you can all see, and I'll tell you a few things that I picked out of it. And then we're just going to have a bit of a ramble, see what we can kind of discern or think about. Okay, there we go. Oh, before we continue though, quick note. If you're considering going to tournaments or just want a slightly easier game, check out the pinned comment where you can get 5% off from Crossfire Games Etsy store. They do a lot of very, very useful things for Kill Team. Personally, objective markers, you've got to have them still in this edition of Kill Team. And also for me, a token caddy. I'm going to do a more detailed video about like must-have accoutrement for Kill Team in the future. But for now, I don't know how I played the last edition without a token caddy. And you have to have objective markers. Cool. He does other stuff too. There you go. And he actually is going to Worlds. I checked. I think he's playing Plague Marines. I can't remember. Anyway, right. Let's discuss. Okay. So very clear. Let me just explain what this chart is for you. So these are the Worlds picks. Obviously, I've just done it by Legionary have 15 picks. Warp Coven have 14. Inquisitor Agents have 11. And then Hypertech Circle have 6. Those are the 4 top picks. The reason, if you see I have 50% next to that and then lower down I have 75%, that is because out of 93 players, 50% of the field is made up by 4 teams. And yeah, as we can see, Inquisitorial Agents to Hypertech Circle is a big drop. So actually it's probably like 40% of the field is made up by 3 teams. Right, I'm going to keep going, but obviously that needs to be discussed. And then if you go down to 7 teams make up 75% of the field. Yeah. Right, very quickly. So there are 34 teams in total in Kill Team, factions in total, sorry. Because of course Plague Marines are an option in this. 8 of the teams have 0 picks at all. That's Chaos Cults, Felgors, Gellerpox, Harnkin Jaeger, Kassakin, Pathfinder Scouts, and Vespids. Very interesting. And yeah, half the teams are 4 factions, 2/3 of the teams are 7 factions. Nice. Also at the bottom here, just because picking out some data, 54 of the teams are elites, 37 are mid-range, mids, and 22 are horde. What are these definitions? So elites, we count up to 8 models, which includes obviously all your Marines. It also, though, includes Hypertech Circle and Eldar. Those are elites. We then get the mid-range, that's 9 to 11 models. So for example, Scouts are 9 models, they would be mid-range, not elites. Up to 11, there you go. And then Horde is anything 12 and plus. This is purely based on number of operatives, nothing else. It's just something to look at. It's very interesting because in the last edition, we would generally, where we had obviously a slightly more known meta, generally hordes were considered pretty strong, dropping down to a lot of strong mid-range, and then elite was suffering a bit last edition. That has obviously turned around. Now let's go up. Okay, so that's it. Those are the numbers. You can see them for yourselves. World's picks. Obviously, we're heavy on elites, understandably, because elites themselves tick so many boxes. Elites are easier to play. There you go, you just have less cognitive load in general. Although I will say Warp Coven, when it comes to cognitive load, higher than most other elite teams, and they are the second biggest pick. Something to keep in mind. But in general, you have less operatives, you have less to do. It's an easier game. And when you're thinking about, I want to go to a tournament and win, you need to think about cognitive load. You need to think about, I'm going to do 8 games over 2 days. If I'm playing whatever, you know, Deathcore, which technically might be better than another team, but I have to play perfectly, you don't want to play a perfect game because you won't. You'll play a bad game and you'll lose. You want to play a team that you can mess up on and that has the natural durability to crack through it. Cool. We all get it. We all get it. Okay, we understand. That's it. Right. Now I want to talk about what this tells us about the game. Does this tell us that elites are OP broken? Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, maybe you could certainly read it that way. But from what we know about the meta currently, we know that Legionary are generally considered the best elite team, followed and perhaps evenly so with Warp Coven, and we see them at the top. Makes total sense. We also then know that Inquisitorial Agents are really good at killing Space Marines. So them being the third pick, if you want to think of it that way, is a bit of a counter meta. We know that elites, Marines are really strong. If you think everyone's going to be taking their best shot at winning, that means they're going to be taking elites. Elites are the strongest. However, if you think everyone's taking that, you know you're going to go into elites at least like 50% of your games. So, how do you beat elites? You have to have an answer. You take the counter elite pick, which is inquisitorial agents. Interestingly, Harkin's salvagers are also considered a little bit of a marine killer team, but nobody cares about them, and so they're only third. Partly because they're dwarves, and dwarves aren't actually that big, or leagues of Votan, sorry, and they're not like a popular faction. But also they'll just be a bit harder to play. Cool. Something of bizarre note is Angels of Death, 1 pick. I'm actually really surprised. I obviously agree that Legionary are better than Angels of Death, as are Warp Coven, I'm sure, no doubt. But to see them pick only a single pick, I think that's really, really interesting. And I think that in itself tells us quite the narrative, quite the story. I think what that's telling us is what we can actually take away from this bar chart. It's not a bar chart, it's a pie chart. I think what that's telling us is that this has nothing to do with popularity of factions in the game. This is some of the best players, questionably, obviously as mentioned at the beginning. Some people want an 8-man, some people want a 120-man, right? Very different scope here, but these are some of the players that have a proven track record. Everyone going to this is at least a veteran, and these are people that probably know a little bit about the game. Some of them will be taking it very seriously, some of them not so much, but still to a degree, right? And the fact that Angels of Death only has a single pick is telling us that everybody here is trying their best in some way. They are considering what limited knowledge we currently have as a community, and they are taking that to do their best. And that's why Legionary are at the top, and that's why Warp Coven are at the top, okay? Because those are de facto the best teams. If you're listening to everybody online, you're paying attention to those things, you will have heard a lot about how elites are the ultimate teams. They are 100% broken. If you want to win a game, you play elites. I'm a noob. I'm a cash. That's what I will tell you. And 100%, if I want my personal best chance at winning in Worlds, I would take an elite team. Okay? Hands down. I wouldn't even consider something else. Legionary are the team I would take. I personally wouldn't pick Warp Coven. They're too big brain for me because, there's too many words on the data sheet, let's be honest. Although, actually, I might probably take Angels of Death, because I'm a bit of a contrarian. I see those Legionary being the top pick. I'm going Angels because hey, I'll just take my double parry and win. But Legionary are strictly speaking better, I think. So these are these people thinking, I want my absolute best shot. What is easy, etc. But then more and more the rumblings from the big players, these veteran players that are highly active online, they're kind of going out and they're looking more into the tech. So whereas the first month of Hivestorm releasing, the new edition releasing, we're seeing everybody say hands down, nobody is saying anything else. They're all saying elites win every single match. Then slowly we creep in, Inquisitors can beat elites. Okay, so okay, cool, there's a counter pick. We also see a little bit of the Hearthkin salvagers can beat elites because they've got some great AP on the weapons. Okay, fair enough, good. However, we've heard other factions being kind of thrown away and like we're not even thinking about them. Like who's thinking about Hunterclade? Nobody. Commandos, a dominant team for the entirety of last edition. Literally the entirety of last edition. They were great. They got a buff, not because they needed it, but because nobody was playing them in Into the Dark. But they were still really solid, right? Now, as you're listening to these podcasts from other content creators and they have people on, guests on who are going to go to Worlds, etc. And suddenly you're hearing more things creep in. You're hearing people say, actually, did you know elites literally cannot kill novitiates. Were you aware of that? And you're hearing, hey, these Corsairs, they've got some guns, you know. You're hearing lots of interesting things start to creep out, which of course means that we have to start considering, why don't we have more than one novitiates player? Why do we have people going onto podcasts and saying, novitiates are the best now, I guarantee it. Nobody's bloody taking them. So what does that mean? Does this mean we can look at this world's picks as in any way indicative of actual power level, popularity? No. It's a bunch of veterans taking their best guess at how they can win. That's what matters. We have very limited knowledge, and that's something to really keep in mind when you're thinking about, is this indicative of anything? And genuinely, no, we don't have enough knowledge. If you're looking at tier lists out there and you're taking them seriously, please stop. That's not what tier lists are for. Tier lists are for fun, okay? We don't have real tier lists yet. We don't have enough actual hard data. The data currently out there, literally meaningless. Fun to look at, but should not be taken seriously in any way, shape or form. Everybody giving their opinions, they are just that, they are opinions. I would not currently, if somebody is taking themselves seriously and saying this is the definitive answer to this team's power level, ignore it. Just like we should ignore the world's picks when we're thinking about, is this actually the best team? There you go. To clarify, Legionary and Warp Coven are still the best. Just throwing that out there. Like, everybody knows that. That is true. But are they definitively the best? Are they the best when it even comes down to, if I played a perfect game, are they the best? No. Because a lot of world's picks players are exactly what I said. They're thinking of the way they can win the most consistently and the easiest. If you have a faction out there that is technically the most powerful, but they give you zero durability, and so if you make a single mistake, if you fluff a single roll, you lose, no good player will play that team. So instead, you take the faction that can have some durability, and that can fluff a few rolls, and that can make a misplay, and still bounce back and win. There you go. And that's what we can take from this. Literally nothing. If you made it to the end of the video, I would of course like to give you a big triple hello. Once again, that is a subscriber only benefit. If you want that carrot in the next video, like, subscribe, leave a comment right now. For this video, the comment can be, what was the point of this video? Because I literally just ended it by saying, this is pointless and means nothing. Please tell me, because I don't know what I'm doing, either with my life or this channel. Thank you. Goodbye.